Annette Dubreuil. Did I get that right? Annette Dubreuil is an embodied creative facilitator who will be speaking with us next. She is coach and focuses on and a focusing teacher for people who want to transform themselves and change the world to make it more caring and flourishing. Today, she's going to be talking about adding focusing to empathy circles. Take it away, Annette.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to begin by speaking a bit about focusing so you know what it is, and we'll do a little experience of it. And before I say what it is, just wanted to say it's also something connected to Carl Rogers that we heard a lot about today. So the creator of focusing, Eugene Genlin, he was a student of Carl Rogers as well back in the day. So I'm going to share my screen and say a little bit about focusing. So first, I would like to say that Eugene Genlin, he says he discovered or created this practice of focusing, that it was something that he was naturally seeing people doing, and that the people who did this embodied practice, they were really having change in their therapy. And so he came up with a six-step or six-movement way to understand focusing. And it's really about being in the body. And in fact, I'll get to that. So first, 2 conditions and 4 moves. So I like using the metaphor of dancing to explain this practice. And so, as you know, when we're dancing, we need some sort of space, maybe a dance floor or your kitchen floor. It can be formal or informal. And for us in focusing, it's about having some space in the body, feeling grounded and centered and present. And then you usually have music when you're dancing, and that can be in your head, or it could be an actual, a band or something like that. And for focusing and being embodied and connected to empathy, that's our heart energy. And so we call that clearing a space. There's different ways of doing that to come into the body. And then activating heart energy really helps with this way of being receiving or welcoming, which some of you have already alluded to with being non-judgmental, right? This kind of 2 sides of the same coin. And then once we're in the body in this way, then we can listen to our body wisdom. And Genlin, I call these the dancing moves, the things we can do once we're in the body. So he called it the felt sense. And the felt sense is primarily physical sensations. And then once you have that, it can turn into something. And he called that a handle. And getting a handle on something is getting the word or the image, something that really captures what that physical sensation is wanting you to know. And Genlin called that felt sense the client's client. So Carl Rogers said, pay attention to the client. Genlin said, pay attention to the client's client. Pay attention to what your body is telling you at the physical level. And this practice, by doing that, it's like an embodied thinking. It brings us, Genlin would say, halfway down, right? So we're not so oriented by the ego. We're allowing the embodied knowing to come through, which is more connected to our soul and the self-transcendence we heard about earlier. So as we do that, there's a resonating piece, which is just checking, is your body going, yes, you're getting the message? Or is it going, close, but not quite, and you want to stay longer? And then when we do this practice, sometimes the body has more to say, and we have a whole host of questions to bring us deeper. So what I'm going to invite us to do is a little practice of it, because really, to know what the felt sense is, you need to experience it. So I'm going to invite you to just for a moment, notice your body, and it might want to move or stretch. We've been sitting for nearly 2 hours, so I'll just invite you to do that for a moment. And maybe sigh, or I think all muted. Maybe taking a few slower breaths, extending your exhale especially. And then if you're comfortable, either closing your eyes or maybe lowering your gaze. And I'll invite you to feel your feet on the floor, if that's where they are, your sit bones on your chair. We're creating that calm space in the body. And then I'll invite you to place one hand on your heart space, and then I like the other hand on the cheek, kind of on the jawline. And you can kind of lean over, kind of holding your your vagus nerve, and your other nerves that connect to your social engagement system. Some self-care here. And then inviting you to do some heart breathing. So this is where we imagine breathing in and out of the heart space. Imagining the breath comes in through the heart and comes back out through the heart. Do a few more like that. And then you can stay that way. You might lower your hands. And I'm going to invite you to imagine that you get a knock at the door and you open the door and one of your favorite people that you haven't seen in a while is there. Maybe it's an elder, a favorite aunt or uncle, or a favorite friend who's surprising you. They're from out of town, something like that. A favorite person is just there at your door. And you just take a moment to land on who it is, and maybe for a moment know why you like them so much. And then I'm going to invite you to see what's happening in your body. Where do you feel physical sensations? And it might be in your heart space, or it might be somewhere else. And you might see if the sensations have a size or a shape, or maybe they're moving or still. Maybe they have a color or a texture. And then I'm going to invite you to ask your body for a word or a phrase or an image that captures this feeling you have in your body now that you're noticing about this friend or person that you are surprised to have at your door right now. How do you feel about them? And it might come as a metaphor or an image, and sometimes it can be tricky to do this. So you could ask it maybe to come as a body of water, right? Somebody you love a lot. Maybe it feels like a kid jumping in a puddle, or maybe it feels like a sparkling lake, maybe like a rainbow in a waterfall. Just checking if one of those resonates, or something else that came from your body. You might notice a little shift when you get something. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to gently round that off. And if you'd like, you can put what you got in the chat. What the image or word was of that person being at your door, how it feels in your body. And just give folks a moment to do that. So we have joy, happy, openness and warmth, calm, very calm, peaceful, like a warm bath. Filled with light, life and love, relieved, compassionate embrace, being held in love. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. So, so focusing, as you saw, is a 6-step practice. It's also a peer-to-peer practice. It can also be done in therapy. So there's many ways of practicing it. And there's been a few innovations in it. Janet Klein created interactive focusing, where after listening to somebody, we pause and sense into the body what we have. So it's like what we just did, but you would do it on what the person said and see what comes. And I was also influenced to share one more by Theory U, Otto Scharmer's work in the Presencing Institute. They do something called case clinics or coaching circles, where during a session, it's one person who would have a turn, and then people would offer their reflections. And so the various ways I've experimented with bringing focusing into empathy circles is at our changes groups. So the focusing community has these ways of coming together and practicing in groups of 2 or 3. And we started doing bigger groups where usually 2 or 3 people would have a turn to share. So rather than having rounds, we would have 1 round per person who were sharing, and then whoever wanted to give an empathic reflection could do so. And then we started doing empathy circles that way on a specific topic. So there was that common humanity piece of sharing similar things connected to a specific topic. I'm just going to put some resources in the chat that connect to those. And then more recently, Edwin co-hosted with me. We did a little empathy circle your way and bringing more felt sensing, focusing the felt sense into the practice. So there's different ways to do this. You can be more on the focusing side or more on the round side and blend it in different ways. And the main thing is letting that body wisdom have a bit more say and bringing those pauses in, right? We can just pause at any point and just notice, oh, was there something there in the body, which allows that higher self to come out a little bit more and not be so led by the ego. So thank you.